Welcome to the program. It's the morning brief right here on Channels Television. I'm Jeffrey Uzan, as always, with my people, and we're complete. And we haven't started no protest yet.
Well, Jeffrey Kadi, every day is a fight to be free, and these times speak more of that than ever before, and the fight continues. Good morning and welcome to the morning brief. I am Bukola Koka.
I mean, who will have known that July the 31st will be such a big day? It's the day before D-Day, before we get the august visitor. Well, welcome to the morning brief. We're live for you in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. I'm Kaido Kikiolu.
So what have you guys been saying? A lot of movements, a lot of talk for and against. Let's for the purpose, for education,
right,
and for our audience. Nobody really wants anarchy. Nobody wants instability. Nobody wants the breach of peace. But people also have a right to express their grievances within the ambit of the law. And the central and operative word is peaceful protest. So if people are going out to peacefully protest, government has said we will provide you security. But now the debate is over whether or not they should be at a location or not. So every other person who is threatening fire and brimstone on people not to protest, you're running foul of the law. It is illegal. It is wrong by the Constitution and by ground norm, which is our Constitution, to tell people not to protest, especially if they want to protest peacefully. You can't threaten people. Even the government itself, if the government cannot stop people from protesting, you, as an individual or group, cannot stop anybody from protesting, as long as those people who intend to protest are peaceful and are not destructive, because the Constitution is very clear. From section 37 to 41, there's a lot of freedom, but section 45 says if you now want to breach public peace or order for any reason, all of those freedom that you enjoy is not absolute. So there's a shared responsibility and shared rights. The responsibility of the citizen is to make sure you go about your business and do your protest peacefully, because it's your right. It's also the right of government to protect you and also to protect the state in case you want to breach the peace. So it is absolute. So it's very funny when people gather and say, you use protest to protest that people should not protest. Isn't that funny?
Oh, well.
Interesting times we're in.
Interesting times.
Very interesting times.
In the bid to balancing the conversation, I started yesterday, but I didn't conclude the thought about how, those who lost businesses and who lost loved ones during the NSAS protest. In fact, those who still can't find their loved ones, I would have been on the trail of a particular story, but the persons behind it retreated, of people who are still looking for their loved ones since 2020. And those persons at this point, this particular juncture in Nigeria's history, where prices of commodities have hit the rooftop as a result of government's economic policies, they're having to suffer both fates right now. So we must balance the conversation in the interest of those people. Despite the huge losses on both sides, they would think twice about a protest. In fact, they would not go touch a protest venue with a 10-foot pole. But while it is important, for us to balance the conversation, it is also important for us to reflect on democratic rights and freedoms at this point in time. It is where one's right, starts, that, where one's right stops, that another person's right starts. So where people are being intimidated about this coming protest and are being asked not to protest, else their businesses are threatened and all of that, then, what does the Constitution say? Who's protecting the rights of those persons? It is very, very important for us to reflect on that as well, because they say someday the poor may not have anything else to eat but the rich. We pray that we will never get to that juncture in Nigeria's history. So where government policies are not favorable to the people, it is incumbent on the managers of the economy to reflect and be creative about responding to the people's yearnings, not just by protecting lives and properties, but creating an enabling environment for people to thrive and pursue their dreams.
Well, get this clear. It's no crime to be rich. In fact, that's what everyone aspires to be. So if it were to be a crime, then it would mean everybody is a potential criminal. So it's never a crime to be rich the right way. It's never a crime to be prosperous. In fact, that is a goal for us as a nation, to ensure that we're a prosperous nation, a prosperous people, at least by and large. So let's get that out of the way. That is not the target here. And I want to speak to strategy this morning. It's important to have a strategy, and that's where goal setting comes into place for everybody, whatever side you're on. I imagine that we're all on the side of Nigeria. So what do I mean by goal setting? For you to have, to achieve your goals, they usually say that those goals have to be SMART, not just smart in that sense. It's broken down, that acronym SMART. So it must be specific, it must be measurable, it must be achievable, it must be relevant and time-bound. That's SMART. So what is the goal we're trying to achieve as a government, as a people? Are those goals specific? The prospective protesters, are your goals specific? That's on the one hand. Are they measurable? How would you know if they've been achieved or not? On both sides, I'm saying, whether you're law enforcement, your government, or the people, are they measurable? Now, are they achievable? I hope that we're not trying to, do things that are not achievable. We have to keep our heads down and ensure that we have our thinkings correct. Else we'll have a mess on our hands on both sides. Also, are they relevant? Are they relevant to the current situation of our country? That is a big question to ask, and time-bound. So what is the time frame? We've seen the time frame for the protest. What is the time frame for achieving the goals that have been set, if they have been set? How are we able to communicate that? That is how to achieve a goal. If we're not doing that, then I tell you, we're just cooking a mess on our hands. So it's important to keep focus, to keep sight on ensuring that our goal is SMART.
I like that point you made, Kaido, which is what I had an engagement with a young man yesterday. I wanted him to be very clear. Yeah. So, for instance, if you as protesters, if you sit, we know what the issues are. Nigerians know what the issues are. There's hunger in the land. Things are all-time high bad when it comes to the numbers and even how we experience life day to day in terms of the cost of living. So there is no point when I hear people say, why are they protesting? I think it's just being clever by half. You know why they are protesting. Whether they articulate it rightly is another kettle of fish. So I asked the young man, if you sat with the president right now, he's asking you, 3 things you want me to do right now that will make you not to hit the streets tomorrow. And so that's why your narrative and your proposition is quite important. What do you want the president to do in the immediate term, not the long term? If you say fix security, that's the long term. Fix agriculture, that's the long term. Do you want him to sack the ministers, maybe remove 10 ministers or 12 ministers? Do you want him to reinstate fulfill subsidy or maybe pay subsidy by half? Do you want him to reinstate?
So those are specific.
So what are
do you want the governors to spending?
Do you want non-elective offices to be defunded? Yeah. Maybe like the office of the first lady and all of that, like they did in... What exactly? So if it's not clear, it's also very confusing for government as to what you want them to do. Because government is trying to do everything. Okay, don't worry. Bag of rice is 14,000 naira now. Don't worry. We have signed a minimum wage. We are making effort. Why are you going on the street? So all of us have to be clear. But let's tell you. And bring you a highlight of what we're doing today before we get ahead of ourselves.
Well, this is big on the show.
24, it's actually big. Literally all we're talking about today. 24 hours, Nigerians who are dissatisfied with the management of the nation's economy and calling for good governance will converge on locations across the country. The government is, however, raising concern over a possible hijack by mischievous elements. How can protesters conduct themselves with support from security agencies to maintain the peace while exercising their rights? That will be our first conversation.
And speaking of efforts to keep the peace, the government, even at last minute, wouldn't want to protest, but respects the rights of citizens to do so, and is still appealing for time for the reforms to yield the desired results. Today on the program, a member of the Federal Executive Council joins us to highlight some of government's measures to be the nation's fortunes. Bring us, rather, to the nation's fortunes.
But that's not all. We'll also hear the perspective of young persons who are championing advocacy for a new Nigeria in the face of myriad of challenges. And at the vanguard is a gentleman, as you can see, described as an encyclopedia of current affairs. Randy Peters makes a return on the show. And it's coming with a lot of common sense, guys. You don't want to miss this.
Yes, many common sense, plenty of it. So we have everybody across boards, civil society organization, government representative, and a young person. So hey, it's a good time to be on the show. And more importantly, you. So talk to us on X, talk to us on WhatsApp, messages, as well as, of course, videos. If you're experiencing fuel scarcity, let us know as well. If you're already started protesting, let us know. If you are against the protest, let us know. You have a right to be against it.
If you are for the protest, Jeffrey, they're accommodated as well.
Yeah, if that's what I'm going there. If you're for or against the protest, everybody's welcome. Democracy is not easy because it's only in democracy everybody must have their say, no matter how uncomfortable the next person is. But it has to be that you don't infringe on somebody else's right. But we'll take a quick break. When we come back, I'll bring you the top stories. Join us again. Top on the brief this morning is a race against time by security agencies who are fine-tuning plans in preparation for the nationwide planned protest, which is why the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun, is again re-emphasizing readiness of the force to protect all peaceful protesters. At a closed-door meeting with the heads of paramilitary agencies, the IGP says the police and other security agencies will be provided with body cams to monitor their activities. He explains that the security agencies will be under no circumstance allow a repeat of the 2020 EndSARS where lives and property were lost. Now, it was indeed a busy day for the police top boss, who also held a virtual meeting with senior advocates of Nigeria, Egbonoluwa Adegboruwa, and Mr. Femi Falana, as well as other key members of the Take It Back movement, in preparation for the End Bad Governance protest to ensure safety of lives and property. The IGP highlights the need to maintain public order and safety during the planned protest, while acknowledging the group's right to freely assemble and express themselves through peaceful protests, and the forces' obligation to facilitate such rights within the confines of the law. In a statement by the force PRO, Muyiwa Adejobi, the IGP advised the Take It Back movement, who have indicated their interest to protest, to liaise with the state commissioners of police to coordinate and plan the protest in a manner that ensures the safety of participants and the general public. He advised against unplanned procession, open and unnecessary processions due to potential danger they pose, and proposed the exercise should be confined to a venue.
It is not advised that we go on street procession, because I've said earlier on that as you are mobilizing for peaceful protest, some are mobilizing for violent protests. We are doing our best to make sure that we check those ones. Then for the peaceful protesters, we are agreeing on the modalities to conduct the peaceful protest at this period. That is why I suggested that confining peaceful protesters to a particular location will help us a lot. I want us to agree on that on the day of protest, your group will be confined to those places that you have identified. And let us also agree that there will be no procession. You indicated 8 locations, 8 states where you want to stage this protest. The IG will not be in all those 8 states at the same time. But we have commissioners of police in each of those states, meet with them, tell the commissioners of police how you want to stage your peaceful protest. But as for me, I believe that a peaceful protest in a confined location will be very easy for the police to protect. But if you say you want to go on procession, you want to go around the whole city in during your peaceful protest, I advise against that. It is
apparently, not carrying out procession did not sit well with the organizers who rejected the IGP's proposal. Senior advocate of Nigeria, Adegboruwa, said there will be guided street processions to achieve the peace before protesters converge at the specific locations sent to the police. Mr. Degboro argued that the attention of the police should rather be focused on thugs and groups threatening fire and brimstone. He said the organizers cannot give a specific number of people who would participate in the protest, as Nigerians have been invited to join the rallies, and the senior lawyer assured the IGP that the organizers are not destructive. In the meantime, managers of the 256 custodial centers in Nigeria are not leaving anything to chance, as the centers have now been marked red zones whose sanctity must not be violated under any guise. That declaration and warning is coming from the Controller General of the Correctional Centers, Mr. Haley Nababa, in a statement by the service spokesperson Abubakar Umar. It reads, in part, the service wishes to enjoin the public that custodial and non-custodial centers are critical national assets, which are germane to public safety as well as national security, and ones that tampering with or attacking them will lead to breakdown of law and order. Well, here in Lagos, a state high court has granted an ex parte application filed by the state's Attorney General, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Law Pedro, seeking to restrict the proposed August the 1st nationwide protest in Lagos to Ganifawemi Freedom Park in Ojota and the Peace Park in Ketu. Justice Emmanuel Ogundare granted the order of preemptive remedy by way of interim injunction to restrict the defendants from converging and carrying out the proposed protests in Lagos from August the 1st to the 10th, except the two approved locations, and the time is between 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Listed in the application as defendants are Adama Okpabi and Tosin Asoba for Active Citizens Group, Comrade Juan Sanyolu, and Hassan Soweto for Take It Back Movement. Persons unknown, and Commissioner of Police of Lagos. While moving his application before the court, the Attorney General argued that as the Chief Law Officer of the state and having been privy to notices by different interest groups who are for and against the nationwide protest, there is need to protect the critical infrastructure of the state and prevent an irreparable loss of lives and property as witnessed during the NSAS 2020 protest. Mr. Pedro also maintained that the police in the state do not have sufficient manpower to provide security support for the planned protesters who plan to protest in all the local government councils and public highways and other areas of public access in the state. After listening to his argument, Justice Ogundare granted all the relief sought in that application. Also, let's tell you that the Nigeria Customs Service has suspended import duties and taxes on essential food items. This was relayed and revealed in a video posted on X by the Customs Controller General, Mr. Bashir Adewale Adeni, where he said the suspension is to make food items available and affordable to Nigerians. He acknowledged that the global inflation is affecting nations, including Nigeria, saying the NCS is committed to implementing the federal government directive on the suspension of tariffs on essential items. And moving on now to other stories, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, continued his consultative meeting with election stakeholders, and the latest is the meeting with members of the civil society organization. The commission started this round of consultative meeting on Monday with the leaders of political parties, and the objective is to bring the attendees up to speed with preparations for the Ondo and Edo elections. Tuesday's meeting with the CSOs is critical, as civil society organizations will serve as election observer groups in the forthcoming election. In business, if you work remotely, it's important you pay attention to this, because the Lagos state government has an ambitious plan to generate 200 billion naira annually by expanding its income tax base to include remote workers and leveraging digital solutions for enhanced revenue collection. According to a synopsis document for the Eco Revenue Plus Summit themed Unlocking New Revenue Streams for Lagos State, the nation's Commercial Nerve Center plans to raise 5 trillion naira internally generated revenue from 4 major sectors. One of such sectors is the digital economy, through which Lagos State plans to introduce a resident global digital citizens tax management system targeting remote workers, foreign firms, and digital influencers. Let's talk sports. Yes, It's not sports, yes. Let's get to the international scene. It was an emotional moment for hundreds who gathered for a vigil in Southport, that's in England, where 3 girls were killed in a mass stabbing on Monday. The 3 little girls, their name Baby King, 6 years old, Elsie Dot, Stakombe, 7, died on Monday. Alice Da Silva Agra, who is 9, died in the early hours of Tuesday. According to local police, 5 children and 2 adults remain in critical conditions after the attack at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class. The class was organized by Link Lucas, and people have paid tribute to her bravery, but her condition is not known, while a male resident has been called a hero by intervening in that particular attack. It's now time to talk sports, but let's say that our thoughts and our prayers are with the families of those very young girls who were killed in that particular incident. Away from that, although swimming dominated Tuesday at the Paris Olympics, the U.S. women have won gold after scoring silver in the Tokyo Games in gymnastics. Simone Biles and Jordan Chills competed in all 4 events. Sonny Lee did bars, beam and floor, and Jade Carey competed in vault. Olympic newcomer Hesley Rivera didn't compete, but still earned a medal. Simone Biles became the most decorated American gymnast in Olympic history when she helped lead her team to gold in the final. But there was a disappointment for United States flag bearer Coco Gauff, who crashed out of the tennis singles under controversial circumstance. So those are actually the stories we've been tracking for you in the last, 24 hours to the early parts of this morning. Remember, the Olympics are still on, by the way. But to tell us exactly what you've been saying on X, Bukola joins me on the program. Bukola?
Yes, indeed, Jeffrey. Hello again. And the protest is still big on the minds of Nigerians for good reason.
Exactly.
Because it's just one day, less than 24 hours to the big day. And of course, there are other issues, that are also dominating the discussion. Speaking of which, the first on, our lineup for review is that revelation by Interpol that hundreds of dollars are laundered out of Nigeria every hour.
Every hour.
Not
so the boys are busy.
Very busy. Every hour. Not every 10 hours, not every 24 hours, every hour. So if you calculate $100, let's just say be modest, $100 in 24 hours. Imagine how much may have been laundered. Yeah. So, it's mind-boggling, really. Godwin is the first person talking this morning, and he says, laundered by who? Good question. And to where exactly? Nigeria, my country. Chai. Very
All
brief.
right, so that's good. If we can have the next one. All of this, at the end of the day, it just speaks to the fact that we need to do something as quickly as possible to ensure that...
Akinola is the next person talking this morning. Akinola says, and NSA didn't see these ones. Shouldn't they have been able to radar these such events and work with ICPC and EFCC? That's the big question. Every time we have such revelations, about corruption, about the uncovering of people who are behind, terrorism financing, we have the revelations, but more often than not, we don't have the revelation of the persons behind these acts. So it behoves of Nigerians to ask such questions.
Okay, so I think this is from Carrington Ojay. Maybe this is the last we'll take on these particular ones. Isn't the DSS, the police, and the EFCC supposed to dig deeper to dish out these money launderers as against channeling energy on legitimate protesters? I wait for my country.
Okay, so away from that now, Jeffrey. This time around, we're moving to the IGP's proposal for confined protests, and he insisted on street processions. Adewale Ganiyu speaks first, and he says, when you insist on street protests, others' rights will be infringed upon. Then a very huge percentage of Nigerians are in the informal sector, whereby their means of livelihood greatly depend on daily activities. Yes, Nigerians are daily earners. Now, when you do street protests, these groups will be worse hit.
I think both sides have a point. It's just to find a common ground. The police is concerned about the ability to man every area. The protester says within our right to do it as we want, as long as we're peaceful. So I'm sure they'll find a common ground to make sure this is peaceful, because nobody wants it to degenerate into chaos and anarchy. I don't know what the law says about restricting to an area. But that's perhaps...
Truth be told, very many daily earners may not come out during these protests. Come out, I mean now, to ply their trade because of the concerns of security and because of the atmosphere ahead of these protests.
All right, Okiti Ogan says they must be held responsible for whatever happens in any place they choose to hold their protests. Okay.
And Kenny says, funny enough, all these people trying to restrain and confine these protests had in one way or another participated or even pioneered a protest.
All right, let's go to the one that Lagos has restricted. Lagos state government through the courts. They approached the court to restrict the protest to Freedom Park and Peace Park, both in Ojota and Ketu. SK_FR says judgment in the right direction. Let everyone carry their daily activities without one affecting the other. As simple as that.
And Chief Sanitarian says court restricting protests. Who does that? Only in Nigeria, Sha.
All right, the next one. Federal government begins sale of 50 kg of rice for 40,000 naira. Remember, the Minister of Information and Orientation, National Orientation, mentioned this during a presser yesterday or so.
2 days ago now.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
So Avocado says, so what happens after the bags of rice are all sold out? We go back to buying it at 95,000 naira. We need a lasting solution. Enough of all these one cup of rice approach, please.
And Sixtus Amanze says it must be sold at 2K or 5K. Well, we must be realistic. Let's just continue. 40K is still very, very, very much. Minimum wage of 70K should be able to buy at least 10 bags of rice. Thank you.
All right, let's talk about the one that Wiki dialogue and say, let's dialogue. You'll see changes in a few days. Now, this is how to talk in a democracy.
Yeah.
So I think he's beginning to get the tone of the people. Section 14, subsection 2A, which is one of my favorite sections. I believe that section should be taught in every school, primary school, section 14, because it says a lot. The section says that, without quoting verbatim, sovereignty belongs to the people, from whom government and authorities will derive their power. It is the people. Like in England, sovereignty may belong to the king or the queen, whoever is in charge, but here it belongs to the people. And I'm happy that it's beginning to toe the line of appeal.
Well, Jeffrey, I wish that reflects in reality,
all right,
particularly in testy times like this.
All right, so AI says implement short-term programs to ease the hunger and cost of living in the land does not require a magic wand in over 365 days. Just like PBATS, as the president, his appointees should appeal and not provoke the already provoked with blackmails and threat, as though it was reading our minds.
Our force is the next speaker, and they say before any dialogue, Tinubu should sell his new private jet and yacht and convert the newly built VP house to public library. Then we can start dialogue.
Oh, okay, without defending the government, we don't have new private jet yet, at least bought yet.
We don't have a yacht yet.
We don't have a yacht yet. Either. But we have the VP residence, which is one of the reasons people are very angry with the government. Why would you spend 21 billion
on the renovation? We're not reconstructing a new residence.
Maybe FCT Minister Yeson Wiki has the answer to that. All right, new NYC allowances for core members is now 77,000. Now, God is good to these people. Adebayo Abanda said, kudos to the appropriate authority, but the main thing is still to look into the security and food or agricultural sector. This is
Adwaya. Shadow Monarch says 77K is only huge when you talk about it in figures. But once you get to the market, you will realize that the 9K is paid back then in 2009 is more valuable than what they will be receiving today. Well, you can say that again, particularly if you consider the needs of the average copper. If you have served before, you know that sometimes you have to pay for accommodation because not everyone can be accommodated in the copper's lodge. Okay. So you have needs, you have bills to pay.
At least for the first time in history, copper's 970K.
What's the value of 77,000?
But you have 70K.
And probably the state government is paying maybe just about 15,000 naira.
Yeah, no, but that will be all for this particular one. We have a lot more that you said, but we have to get into the conversation. We have loads of them. So let's get straight to it. But we must thank you for keeping your thoughts and your views coming in. Even if you have videos, send them as well. As much as possible, we'll take them on the program. But we'll take this quick break. When we come back, it's going to be the first. We're going to go to that first conversation. And today, it's all about what is going to happen tomorrow, but different perspective. Join us again.
tell you this as an individual. I personally believe Nigeria is going through a surgical process. That is the truth. And for a government that is barely a year old, with a cabinet that is 11 months old, and all of a sudden, you're judging 11 months of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's cabinet, 12 months or 13 months of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's presidency over a scenario of 60-something years. Before you go on a protest, there are 4 things you must consider. Number 1 thing for me, in my own priority, is to say, okay, can we demonstrate that we have exhausted all methods of engaging government, including negotiations and, of course, petitions? Have we done that? That's number 1. Then number 2, when you engage with government, have you given government time to even respond? Are you looking at the workflow of government? Have you even tried to have an insight into the plans of government? There is always that gestation period. Please, we are pleading. Do Nigerians have a right to? Yes, we understand. But what we are saying is that please just hold on. Mr. President is putting something on the table. It has happened in all economies. There is no way. Let me tell you, there is no easy way out of issues. You must take bold decisions. You must be sacrificial. You must be able to go through that level of perseverance. And we are pleading as a government that, look, Mr. President, judge us by the decisions you have taken, the indices, and look at it in terms of long term.
It's crunch time, and everybody can feel that. Questions about whether this is a calm before the storm, or this is a point before it gets even better for everyone in the country. We're yet to find out, but we can take a peek, at least, into the coming days to know, perhaps, what the weather holds. And this morning, we have joining us on the program to give an insight into what to expect in the coming days, Mr. Awal Ibrahim Musa, who is Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, the Chairman, Board of Trustees, Amnesty International, Nigeria, and Head, Transparency International, Nigeria. Mr. Ibrahim Musa, welcome to the Morning Brief.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
Well, we started off the show by, just taking a critical look at strategy, goal setting, and I think it's a fair place to begin this conversation with you. And this is for the side of prospective protesters, whether or not the goal that they have is smart, in the sense that, is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Is it relevant and time bound? Those are the factors that will decide whether or not this goal they have in mind will be achieved, will be successful, and will give us a better nation at large. So I'd like us to begin from there in terms of goal setting and the strategy. Do you see enough? What else would you like to see, Mr. Musa?
Thank you very much. In my opinion, the protest has already, succeeded in the sense that as a result of clerical call and, legitimate demands by Nigerians for government to sit up and block the leakages, ensure that the country economic deterioration is addressed, ensure that the killings and kidnapping that has been going on without much attention from government to rescue and protect the students is one key that made people to say, look, we have to do something because Nigeria must be alive before any other things. And then also for the fact that government and even the security agencies themselves have shielded from the initial threat of, almost saying, come out, we will eliminate you. Now you're hearing, the security, they themselves too saying that, okay, you should do the same, but do it in a particular area and this, that, and that. And for the fact that the president, who at the initial stage were more of like adamant on some of these issues and demands that the protesters are making, Now, you hear that government is making so many commitments. This is what was expected even before this tension and build up to this. Let government listen to the people. Let government take practical steps to ameliorate the suffering that Nigerians are going through, which is not a natural disaster. You can imagine if Nigeria is tested with natural disaster, how are we going to overcome it? But these are all artificial problems caused by some wicked, unpatriotic public officials, because if you continue to sabotage laws that you are supposed to be protecting, engaging in a monumental looting. You just had the Interpol saying that every hour, dollars, hundreds of dollars are disappearing or are laundered, from the country. This is what we have been talking about. You hear that people are purchasing Nigerians. They kidnap them. They will be trading with them, and nobody is bothered to trace them. Nobody is able with this modern technology to find out who are these people. And you hear that government say that they have the names of people who are financing terrorism, and nobody is arrested. Nobody is, asked to account for all the criminalities they have been doing. That is why Nigerians are angry. That is why Nigerians are not happy. And then suddenly you remove all the subsidies everywhere in the world. Do you have one form of subsidy or the other? You removed electricity, you increase electricity tariff, you increase petroleum product, you increase virtually everything, and some of the agencies that have nothing to do with the revenue, they have become revenue generating, and nobody is accounting for all that thing. These are the things that, really made Nigerians to be angry with the system. It's not necessarily just about only one government. It is a continuous recklessness by public official. But government is government, and the current government came and added more things that made Nigerians to be unhappy. Look at $90 billion that was allocated for so-called Hajj. The pilgrimage, many of them were not even elected. Any pilgrimage was given the necessary treatment that is supposed to, get in Saudi Arabia, and nobody has accounted for that money. How can we continue with this kind of, looting and extravagancy? And Nigerians are hungry, no job. Manufacturers are closing down, leaving Nigeria. Even local businesses are being sabotaged. How can we continue to run a country like this? At international level, we are being disrespected. Look, we have duty and responsibility. Even those people who have been hired to come and, rubbish the legitimate concern of Nigerians, they should remember that they themselves too, they have families. Not all of them in their family are lucky to have access to government money or protection. So it is for the betterment of our country, and it is important that both the citizens and the government work together to rescue the country, because this is the only country we have. Even if you japa, even if you travel abroad, even if you get second passport, you are still not like fulfilled person. So for me, honestly speaking, government should sit down and say, okay, in the interim, this is what we are doing. In the medium time, this is what we are going to do. And in the larger time, this is what we are going to do. Not bullying, not attacking, not insulting, not using public taxpayers' money to engage some pestilence groups to say that they are doing protests against the protest. All these are not lasting solutions. Let us be sincere. If our government is sincere, honestly speaking, Nigerians are patient, they are tolerant, they can actually understand and appreciate. But when you are bullying people, you are insulting them, at the same time, you are still, creating opportunity for looting, stealing, creating insecurity, artificial insecurity, just to justify why you are taking, public taxpayers' money. I don't think it is the solution. So I am happy that, to a large extent, government now is listening, and I hope it is a sincere listening with a durable solution, not just to, suppress the protest. Because this protest, I can tell you that this one is even good because it's organized by some people. Let us not pray for the one that we do not know how to control it. But I believe that with the government being honest and sincere and being committed to ensuring that they block leakages, because ultimately, if looting and stealing and reckless spending continues and you continue to mock the citizen, put them in a more terrible situation, definitely this tension cannot go. But I hope that government will sit down and do something.
Yeah, indeed, Mr. Rafsanjani, the atmosphere is tense, and some would say that, constitutionally, government also reserves the powers to, lighten the burden and bring about ease. But speaking of what government is able to do, it had, ahead of this protest, called on the protesters, first of all, to identify themselves, and then they identified themselves, and then it asked that they articulated their demands. And we heard one of the leaders yesterday, enumerating some of their demands. But just to mention a few of them, return electricity tariff to pre-May 29 levels, return fuel subsidy or return petrol price to pre-May 29 levels. And of course, one of the demands that escapes me at this point, but if I remember, I'll put it across before the end of this question. But how realistic are those demands, Mr. Rafsanjani, in the light of the current economic realities?
Okay, first and foremost, I don't think this protest is about some few groups of people. I think virtually every Nigerian is protesting, including you, my sister. You may not come out to say you are protesting to come to the street, but definitely you are feeling the pains of the economic hardship, the sense of insecurity in the country, and the sense of bastardization of our, public institutions. So virtually every Nigerian, in one way or the other, is feeling, the pain on how our country is governed. The cost of governance in this country is ridiculous. So it is not just about the people who are coming to do protests on the street. I think this protest is in many forms. There are some people who will want to come out physically to identify themselves. There are some other Nigerians who they are feeling the pain and they are talking about it. Every day you move around communities, you hear people are not happy, they are angry, they are not happy, with the way things are happening. So I don't think it is just these few people who want to do, who say that they are the leaders. I then think it is only, this protest is restricted to only people who are coming to do that. Let me tell you, everywhere you go, including even the police, do you know that some of the police people, their living condition is so terrible? So they may not come out and protest, but they are complaining inside them. They are not happy. The same thing with the army. Even the chief of army staff came to tell the whole world that the army are underpaid. And they are human beings, they are Nigerians, they go to the same market. So there are many forms of dissatisfaction that people are expressing. It's just that this one, they choose to say they want to come out as they are, guaranteed by the Constitution to come out and march. Maybe that is the best way government to attend to them or to listen to them. Otherwise, many Nigerians, in one way or the other, they are protesting, they are not happy. That's the truth, Now, regarding how do we, reverse some of this thing? Look, the government said that the saving they are making for the subsidy, they are providing it to the state governors. I tell you, go to every state in Nigeria. Almost, I can tell you that those money provided by the federal government to the state governors are not judiciously utilized to address these gaps or these, challenges that Nigerians are facing. Now, if you have that money and you are just, recklessly spending it, you can as well reverse it back to address the fundamental thing that every Nigerian can benefit. We have seen this reversal by Electoral. Did the country collapse when Electoral reduced back the petroleum product, price? No. In fact, Nigeria was moving. So our problem is not really about subsidizing, for the citizens. It is the looting, the stealing that is going on regular basis everywhere in government now. People mindset is, how do I, corner XYZ? We cannot continue to run a country like that. and then you expect the citizens who are at the end of the day suffering from even what to eat to keep quiet. I think for me, Nigerians have been very patient, not just for Tinubu administration, but for the subsequent regime that happened, because they are following the same pattern of emasculating the citizens, creating policies that are completely very harsh and hard, and they don't even comply with it by themselves. So for me, honestly speaking, there are tangible things that can happen. The government can do a lot to ease this trouble. Farmers can no longer go to farms to farm, and that is why a lot of commodities, a lot of agricultural products are also very expensive, because the farmers cannot go because of the insecurity, because terrorists have decided to block them from going. And every now and then, you have a lot of things that government want to do. Before the thing gets to the people, the money has been stolen. Like I just give you the example of this money that the government budgeted 90 billion. Let them come and account what they have done. Who have they supported? So we cannot be taking all this kind of huge amount of money in a country where you have scarcity of the resources. You continue to borrow from the World Bank, from the IMF and other financial institutions.
All right.
And nobody is seeing what you are doing with it.
All right. The beauty of the ideal core democracy is the fact that it allows for both for and against in any conversation. In fact, it allows for freedom of thought. So everybody has a valid point. The protesters who are saying we want to protest, they have valid point. The people are saying it's not necessary to protest, give the government a chance, they have a valid point. The government who is saying this can be hijacked, they have a valid point. People are seeing it through the prism of the people. The people who are seeing it through the prism of what do you call it? The people who are seeing it through the prism of politics, ethnicity, objectivity, however you want to look at it. Democracy allows everybody to have their say, but it's like they say in democracy, a majority will have their way. So let's see how we can aggregate everybody's interest. The people that are for and against, as well as the government in charge who are saying, give us more time. So let's speak to two issues from the conversation we had that ensued between the IGP and some senior advocates and other interest group, which has to do with them saying, we don't have enough boots on the ground. Could you do your protest, which is within your right, to say, let's confine you to some locations where we have control over? I want you to speak to that. Is that not a fair deal from the side of the government to at least manage what could spiral out of control if it's not properly managed?
Yeah, first and foremost, I commend the security agencies for realizing that they cannot even suppress or stop, Nigerians from expressing their grievances. Which the security themselves, they are also not happy. I tell you, they are Nigerians. They go to the same market. How much do they earn? An average officer, how much do he see is his income? So all of us were in the same, trouble in this country, and it's just that some people have the ability, to speak out about these issues and demonstrate their, not satisfaction in satisfactory, conduct on how things are done in the country. But I tell you, average, even security officers, they are all suffering. They are suffering. So it's not exclusively for only people who say that they are coming out to protest. If you look at the number of Nigerians, we are 250 million people. How many of these, people who are going to beat their chest to come out? In every society, in every situation, you have some people who are courageous to speak on behalf of others. And these people who say they are coming out to do this, I believe that they speak in the minds of many millions of Nigerians who are not able to physically come out, some because of health challenge, some because of fear of victimization, some because of also, probably, their decision to say, let me continue to express my anger internally or within the space that I have. But you see, the problem we have is that even those who are just using their own space to talk, people are arresting them even before the protest. Do you know how many Nigerians have been arrested simply because they say they want to be part of the protest? These are the things that we are saying. So stop emasculating and dehumanizing, and continue to maltreat Nigerians for expressing their anger over the suffering they are going through. However, I think, like I said, it's a huge, success for the security to realize that they didn't even have the manpower to come and kill everybody or to come and brutalize everybody. So for me, already the protest has succeeded for the fact that from saying that you must not do the protest, we will deal with you when you come out, to now saying that, okay, you can do the protest in a particular area. So for me, already the protest has succeeded. It has registered the grudges and grievances to the government. Before, if they block Tinubu from hearing that Nigerians are suffering, Nigerians are dying, at least now the situation has escalated that Tinubu is hearing and is even appealing. So for me, we have already, as Nigerians collectively, we have succeeded in getting government to know the situation that Nigerians are going through. Right. The second thing is to get the government to be honest and sincere and bring in durable solutions. I think for me, these are the things that I see with this development.
So Nigerians want to see the actions. They want to see all of that empathy that they have not seen in the past. And they always say that it's a no-brainer. Governance is not rocket science. If it were, then Nigerians would have millions of people in the moon, but clearly we do not. So it's not rocket science. It's quite simple. But we'd like to thank you so much, Mr. Awal Ibrahim Musa, Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, also Chairman, Board of Trustees of Amnesty International Nigeria, and Head, Transparency International Nigeria. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a moment now, and when we return, we'll bring you another perspective to this call for protest, which Mr. Rafsanjani says is successful already. That's the government side. Stay with us.
The protest will take place in Lagos State like it will in other parts of the country, starting from this week, Thursday, 1st of August 2024. We call on all youth, students, unemployed workers, traders, and all those who are affected by the condition of hunger and hardship to join us. The peaceful protest we hold according to the following schedule. We are announcing our takeoff point to be Ikeja under bridge in Lagos State. Our cardinal demands are these. 1, we are calling for the reversal of fuel price to pre-May 29, 2023 level. We are demanding reversal of electricity tariff to pre-May 29, 2023 level. We are demanding end to hardship and hunger. We are demanding recall of all victimized activists. Free all NSAS detainees, many of whom are still in detention 4 years after. We are demanding end to school fee hike for study grants and not loans. We are calling for the placement of all political office holders on the minimum wage. We are calling for the reversal of all anti-poor and neoliberal capitalist policies. We are demanding the fixing of public refineries, the building of new ones, under democratic workers' control and management.
Welcome back. And it's ideal that will be our next takeoff point, specifically looking at it from government's perspective. The protest, to be or not to be, well, the protest may have begun already with protests not to protest. So let's have government's reaction to it now, as we have welcomed the Minister of State for Health, Ms. Dr. Tunji Alausa, who joins us now on the program. Good morning and welcome, Dr. Alausa.
Good morning. How are you today?
Very well, thank you, sir. And you may have been following the conversation. We had the representative of the protesters from Lagos speaking only moments ago, and he listed a number of demands of the protesters, ending of release of NSAS protesters. He in fact said placing of government workers on minimum wage, return of electricity tariff to pre-May 29 levels, return of petrol price to pre-May 29 levels. I'd like you to react to some of these demands, especially that which is also calling on government workers to be on minimum wage.
Yeah, thank you so much. The president has also been following all this, the things that's going on in the public. I'll tell you, let's just stand for a minute and be objective here. We have, no doubt, food prices are high, there's hardship in the land. But then, this President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was sworn in on May 29. Today is just about 14 months. A lot of the things that people are shouting and talking about, these problems predated President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's time. But the president on his day of inauguration said, I inherit all assets and liabilities. I asked for this job, don't pity me, I will do it. And the president also told Nigerians that I'll be honest with you. I'll do the right thing. I'll look into the future. I will not take measures that will just be superficial, patchwork, and 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we're still in the same situation. I want to completely fix this country in a robust manner and put the country on the path of sustainability. 10, 20, 30 years from now, when our children, unborn children, will be happy of what their past leaders have done. And that's what this president is doing. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is working almost 18 hours a day to meet his obligations, his promises to Nigerians. Let's look at what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done and has achieved in the last 14 months, compared to what happened in the last 8 years, in the last 16 years. Within this past 14 months, the president has done a lot. No doubt, a lot still needs to be done. These presidents believe that putting the country on the path of positivity, a path of positive paradigm shift that is conceptually robust and pragmatically actionable. And let me begin. Number one, the president removed fuel subsidy. We have to. We're living on borrowed terms. We're spending over $10 billion of money that we don't have to subsidize fuel. The country was bankrupt by the time the president took over. He had to do something. And I'll come to what the president has done with fuel subsidy. The first thing, number two, the president completely removed the arbitrage, this scam that was going on in our forex transaction in the country. Previous governments have tried to narrow the exchange rate. This president did it within this last 14 months. The exchange rate has narrowed. That's a huge accomplishment. Of course, we floated the naira. The naira is now, we're not seeing the real value of naira. It's caused prices to be up. And I'll talk to you about in a minute what the president is doing about that and what he's done. Let me go back to fuel subsidy. Of course, we've removed fuel subsidy. And look at the creative. And it takes a genius to do that. What the president just announced on Monday, we're now selling our crude in naira to Dangote refinery. And I'll tell you the benefit of that action. Currently, we're spending $600 million every month to import refined petroleum products into the country. That translated into $7.9 billion a year. Now, the fuel importation, PMS importation into our country account for about 30% of our forex use. With the nairalization of our crude oil sale to Dangote refinery, that amount of money we will be spending every month has gone down to $50 million. Total in a year, $600 million. Saving of $7.3 billion of forex that will help strengthen our currency. Now, there will be predictability, stability in the prices of fuel, because Afrexim has been appointed to be the clearing, the settlement bank. The government has decided how much they're going to sell fuel, crude oil to Dangote. Dangote knows the price of fuel. There will not be any foreign exchange component that will cause fluctuation. And there will be stability. There will be regular supply of fuel. That is huge. Nigerians should just be patient. This president is fixing this country ground up in a part of sustainability. Now, within this past 14 months, the president has instituted consumer credit. Number 4, student loan. Our students are now accessing these loans. It's there. This is not ASA. Student loan is reality. It's never been done in our country. Number 5, the student feeding program. President has allocated $100 billion for this school feeding program in our school, where a primary school student, secondary school students would get free breakfast, nutritious breakfast, nutritious lunch that will help enhance their brain development. Number 5, the president has also instituted a youth entrepreneur program that is being managed by the Ministry of Youth and Youth. They have the portal open up now where youth can apply for soft loan up to $10 million naira, 15 million naira, to help them set up businesses, to create a new wave of young entrepreneurs in our country. The government, the president, has funded that with 100 billion naira. Now, and you look at what just happened, minimum wage, over 100% increase. And the president did not only say, let me just increase this, give you this minimum wage. It was directly involved, innately involved with negotiating with the labor union. Let's understand ourselves. How many presidents has done that? Let's understand ourselves. And the president said, okay, at the end of it all, they agreed. And the president said, we can't just increase minimum wage now. Obviously, years over years, there's rising cost of living, cost of inflation. Every 3 years, we'll come back and renegotiate increase on this minimum wage that has been passed. Now, let me go to security. Banditry, significant high level of banditry was inherited by this President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Look at what's happened in the last several months. Security is better. Are we there where we should be? No, but we are on the right path. Security is better. You go talk to the bandits and see the fire they are facing. Any bandit now that wants to go out knows that he has the decimated.
Honorable Minister, if I'm a button.
Now.
Just a minute, sir. Just a minute, sir. I know you reel out a lot of these things. We can take it up one by one, but I can't remember all the things, all of it. But the reality is, so for instance, you had mentioned that the president sat with Labour first-time ministry. Not necessarily true. I know that Goodluck Jonathan also did same. The increase was not 100%. The increase was 75%. So I needed us to put all of that record straight. And we've always said, we've never said the government is not doing enough. The government is not doing anything. The argument is the people say they are not seeing the results of what the government is doing, at least in the short term. Just a minute, Minister, please. They've not seen the result, at least in the short term. With all of these things you're mentioning, if you step out of that studio and get to the market, there's a stark reality in the face of people. Food prices, prices of drugs, quality of lives, even the increase of the minimum wage to now what is apparently $45 or so. People are questioning how far it can go, but at least it's a step in one direction. So the major thing that brought us here is the issue of the fuel subsidy, which this is why people are having a challenge that already we have a situation where the purchasing power of people are quite low. And then fuel subsidy was removed. And now buying fuel is a big deal. We are high import dependent country. We're not very productive as a country. The president went to float the naira, and now we're saying this is the real value of the naira. The argument here, Minister, is the fact that it's like telling me to go and fight Anthony Joshua. I don't have a chance without preparing me adequately. So the stark reality is that with all of this effort, people are still suffering. So what do you say can be done in the immediate to make people even listen to the government?
And thank you. And a lot of things are being done in the immediate terms. The president is an empathic human being. One of the most generous human beings you can see. He feels the pains of Nigerians. He understands this. Nigerians should be patient. These problems, please, let's be fair and be very objective here and be logical. All these problems you've just chronicled were all mess of what that happened in the previous years before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took over. And what the president has done has actually stabilized this country. And macroeconomic indicators are much better. I know that doesn't translate into what the market people are seeing in the market. But there are several palliative programs that have also been rolled out. The conditional cash transfer. People are getting the money. Go ask them. People should come out and also come and talk about the positive things that this president has done and is continuing to do. You have the nano program. I submitted name to the people. 50,000 naira we disbursed to small market women to support their business. Hundreds of thousands of people have gotten that money across the country. We've shipped hundreds of millions of bags of rice and grains all over the country that has been shared. I just got 1,200 bags of rice that's been distributed in Ekpe and Ikorodu local government. Other places are being swarmed with these grains. And if you care to know, go ask people. They will tell you prices of food are beginning to come down. And what you said about rising pharmaceutical, that was gone. The prices of pharmaceutical have gotten lower. Go talk to the manufacturers. GSK left, Sanofi left. It's created opportunity for manufacturing companies to expand their capacity. Go talk to the Fitzin of the world. Go talk to the EMSO of the world. Go and ask them. Don't just come and say things that are not true.
Honorable Minister.
These manufacturers are manufacturing more. Prices have come down.
Honorable Minister.
In the country.
If I may but say, Honorable Minister, we are talking to the public, so it's important we put the facts right. Our macroeconomics numbers are not better. Just hold on, sir. Headline inflation is still 34. Food inflation is 40. Our GDP, the government met it at over $400 billion. Now it's less than $300 billion. You say drugs have gotten cheaper. We buy medication. I buy medication. It has not gotten cheaper. A guy was here the other day.
No.
He said his insulin was 3,000 before this government. His insulin now is about 22,000, and he needs that 3 times a month.
You can't.
Let's be very.
You cannot begin to talking the negative part.
Right.
Look at the positive part. We're very factual, and I'll take you. I'm being factual here. I'm a data person. Some of our macro indicators have gotten. We're collecting more revenue. Look at our rating. Look at the debt in the world. Our rating is getting better internationally. You have to mobilize direct foreign investment to the country. That's what we need. Right. Please, let's just not talk about negativity alone. Let's also look at the good things that are happening in our country. Right. The president has stabilized this economy. So please, you cannot just begin to pick. If there's so many ways to skin a cat, don't look at the negative part again. Nobody is perfect, and I'm not coming here to tell you that we're in a perfect country. We still have a lot of problems, but the president is very clear, very longitudinal, and very clear and direct in the way he's tackling all the various sectors of the economy. And I've just told you, look at the massive infrastructure work going on across the country. Our roads have been dilapidated, abandoned. Hundreds of roads are being built, and they're built to international standards. You need good roads to move food from the farm to the market. You need functioning rail system to move food, to haul food to the market. Those were all desecrated before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu became president.
All right, so I'd like us to speak to
Are you going to
fix?
Are you going to repair 1,000 kilometers of road in 1 week?
Well, I'd like us to speak to the coming days. Look at the massive infrastructure
project going around the country.
Right. So, the coming days will be very critical to the soul and the future of our nation, Nigeria. And these protesters, at least the ones that have been identified, the leaders, have made their demands known. And that was what we started with before this conversation. So let's go back to those demands, because it looks like, as you said, government is doing quite a number of things. But whether or not people can feel that is another thing entirely. So government can be doing all of the activities, but when you get to the streets, when you get to the rural areas, the urban areas, when you speak to them and say, are you feeling these things? And they say no, then clearly something needs to change. That is the truth. We can't keep doing the same things and expecting a different result. Something needs to give. One of the demands of the protesters, which we'll go back to, and again, this is anger at the way government has been carrying itself in terms of spending. People have cried, literally lost their voice, saying we need to cut down the cost of governance. There's a lot of waste, profligacy in government. So one of their demands is, for example, place those who are in government, people who are appointed, elected officials, place them on minimum wage. Let us have that pedestal. Because clearly we're not a rich nation, as we've always said. The indices don't show that we're rich, at least in reality. Maybe we have the potential, but we've not been able to translate that. So let us cut our cloth according to our material. So is that something that you think that the president, the National Assembly, all those in government will take on board and say, you know what? Let's cut down our salaries. Let's be on the same pedestal with the people. Then maybe the people can say, well, you're doing something.
Yes, good. And two things I'm going to address. I'm going to come back to that fuel subsidy. But let me just talk about this minimum wage. There's minimum wage in lives. The category of worker, hierarchy. You have high income, low income, high level worker, medium level worker, and the workers that do all the other job. So you cannot say, okay, minimum wage. You can't say a doctor, because everybody should be on minimum wage. In the legislators, the lawyers there, the doctors there, they have specialized skill set. Now, if I know, people just say a lot of things and assume, if I tell you my salary in public, but it's confidential, it's just, it's not even enough to sustain me. And that's for other ministers. But then we are all sacrificing. This president gave us the privilege, the opportunity to come and work for him in his mission to save Nigeria and put Nigeria on part of sustainability. Take her to El Dorado. That's why you've seen a lot of people passionately working between 16 to 18 hours a day. We have a motivator in chief in the person of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So if you see a lot of people say, oh, minister this, we are getting bare salary. But that's okay. We've accepted to do that job.
Well, Honorable Minister,
and we will do it.
You're clearly not getting 70,000 naira.
But now,
we need to understand also where the anger is coming from. Imagine elected officials that have not worked as long as civil servants, earning multiples of their salaries. That's where the anger is from. We're working for this, but it looks like other people are the ones buying SUVs and big vehicles.
Give me example. You see, they peddle a lot of information. That's not true.
Honorable Minister, so you asked for an example.
Give examples of those people.
Fantastic. Minimum wage today is 70,000 naira. How much does the average legislative member earn? They've put out their salary. It is not 70,000 naira. And when they weigh the work and say, well, this is how long I've been in the civil service, this is how long this person has been in the legislature, for example. You just vie for election, and you get the office. They look around, appointed people, the special advisors and the rest. These are the things people put together and say, it is not adding up. So those are examples.
Let me tell you what minimum wage, just like, with all due respect to you, minimum wage is minimum base. The other benefit that gets on it, minimum wage means the people that are at about level 3, level 4. That's why we have skill set. We have level 5, level 6, level 14. Somebody in level 14 is not earning for. Somebody in level 14 is civil service with their skill set, principal, medical officer, and executive officer. They're not earning 70,000. They're earning based on escalatory rate of their level at work. Legislators also have their job specification. You can't tell them to go and earn minimum wage. Let's be sincere and be factual here. We also see what's happening in other country. Is the legislator in United Kingdom earning minimum wage? Is the congressman in United States of America earning minimum wage? People are being paid according to their skill set, according to the positions they've been employed to work, and at every level their responsibilities, their requirement of those positions. So you can't say legislators should pay minimum wage. That's not what we're talking here. But if you look at the salaries of these legislators, it's not as robust as people are saying. I can tell you my salary in public, but I don't want to, but it's not about me. But it's about, let's look at the society. What is the president doing? This president is extremely empathic. He lives, he drinks, he eats Nigerian. How this country will be better? Let's be patient. We're not saying things are not hard. Things are hard, but be patient. People are coming with unrealistic suggestions. I just told you before this president came in, we were spending over $10 billion, borrowing $10 billion a year to sustain fuel subsidy. And even with the fuel subsidy, there's a lot of arbitrage. Nigeria needs just about 16 million liters of PMS a day. 50 million liters of PMS was being imported. Arbitrage. We're fueling the entire sub-Saharan Africa. So we can't continue on that path. How can you now? You manage your household. You are living. You're borrowing on your credit card every month. It's not sustainable. For anything that's going to be good in life, there will be some pain. And as days go by, months go by, things are going to slowly get better. Let's be patient. The problems we're talking about today were problems that were created 16, 20 years ago. This president can be very deceptive to Nigeria and just do patchwork. 4 years, 8 years. But he said, I will be honest with Nigerians. I will take the difficult decision. I'm looking at the generation to come. We have to leave a legacy in this country.
Honorable Minister.
And this is what the president is doing. There's just too much people.
Honorable Minister.
Let's be patient.
If I may come in here, let's manage our time. Let's manage our time. If I may come in here, you say that Nigerians have unrealistic expectations. Let's just look at a few of the numbers.
I did not say Nigerians have, I did not, don't call me. I did not say Nigerians have unrealistic expectations. No. Nigerians have a right to express their anger and frustration. This president is listening, but we will solve these problems. Nigerians should please be patient with us. We are all in the same boat. This is our country. We're all in the same ship. We just have the president who is the sailor-in-chief.
Okay.
Nigerians expect, they have a right. Nigerians have a right to demand whatever they want from their government. It's their legitimate right.
Okay.
Please.
So let's look at
their legitimate right.
So let's look at some of the facts that irk the anger of Nigerians, which is some of the budgetary allocations to government officials. 36 billion naira for SUVs for National Assembly members, 21 billion naira for the renovation of the VP's office. Another couple of billions of naira for the renovation of the National Assembly quarters, 1.5 billion naira for the purchase of vehicles for the office of the SUVs. These are not necessarily modest budgetary allocations in the light of the austere circumstances that we find ourselves in. Yet government officials demand that Nigerians tighten their belts. So the question is, how does government officials continue to demand sacrifices from Nigerians when they're not showing say?
Good, thank you so much. Number one, let's just start from the basis here. We run a democracy. This President Bola Ahmed, is an ardent Democrat. And that's why today people can protest peacefully. Nobody is stopping people from protesting. This is part of democracy. This is part of people exercising their democratic right. The past speaker that said, your previous speaker that you had that said people are being arrested, that's blunt lie. Nobody is being arrested. Nigerians can demonstrate peacefully. What we're saying is that we don't want people to riot. Now, we run a democracy. We have the legislature, you have the executive, you have the judiciary. This President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, believes in absolute separation of power. Is running the executive arm of the government within the principle, within the ambit of how democratic governance should be done. If you're talking about the legislature, you cannot ascribe that as what, and some of the things you said, you have read, I'm not corroborating them, but you can't ascribe that as part of why people will be angry against the president. Do you want the president to go and string the National Assembly? No, we have principle of separation of power. Judiciary is there, executive arm is there, and the legislative arm is there. Let's be clear. So let's not model things here. Let's not model things up here. So everything you've said now, tell me in the executive arm where you see these shenanigans. There's discipline, there's property. Go to the presidency.
All right.
Even there's no free there's squeeze of, they don't have cash. They don't have money. And I'll tell you, previous presidents have used ways and means borrowing. We inherited almost $7.3 trillion by the past government in ways and means borrowing.
All right, Honorable Minister, said, we must race against...
use ways and means borrowing to
we must race against time now.
Use one... but let me say, please, because this president has not...
Just land on that thought and then we must wrap up. Land on that thought and let's wrap up.
Okay, thank you. So please, Nigerians, we understand things are hard, but be patient. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and the tunnel is not too far. It's not too far. It's not too long. We're getting there. Please give President Bola Ahmed Tinubu the time to robustly fix this country the way he's doing it. The president is working so hard. I can tell you, at least 18 hours a day.
All right.
To work for Nigeria, to ensure we have an egalitarian society, where a country where we will all be proud, where decades from now, our children will be proud of us, that will left them a befitting nation.
All right. How much more time? We don't know, but we thank you very much for your time on the program today and your contributions. Much appreciated. We've been speaking with the Minister of State for Health, Dr. Tunji Alausa. Thank you for coming on the Morning Brief.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll switch gears now. Still on the protests, but we're viewing it from the prism of a youth. You don't want to miss this aspect of the conversation. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Everyone is preparing for what may happen tomorrow. Protesters hitting the streets to demonstrate, saying they want to end bad governance, or they are protesting against hunger, or they are dissatisfied with the management of our Commonwealth. So, and some are saying don't go. Government is saying take it easy with us. We will do something. We're doing something. Be patient. It's a lot of narrative out there. But at the end of the day, that's why we're having this conversation. From the beginning of the program, we've had the CSO. We've also had the government, member of the Federal Executive Council, the Minister of State for Health, Dr. Tunji Alausa, who just joined us. And now being joined by a gentleman who we call the encyclopedia of current affairs. But he has a lot of common sense he wants to share from the youth perspective as far as this issue of good governance and a better Nigeria is concerned. His name, Peter Aka, is an advocate for a new Nigeria content creator, but you may know him on TikTok, which is where the first place I actually saw him, as Randy Peters. Welcome again. A big comeback.
Thank you.
This is the fastest comeback on the show.
Yes, one of the fastest.
That means you're a man of value.
Thank you very much.
We saw the video of you trying to make sense of what is going on.
Yes.
For the benefit of the audience who haven't seen that video, maybe you can just a shorter version of what you were trying to say to Nigerians as far as this season of protest or not to protest is concerned.
Thank you very much once again. A shorter version of that video would mean protesting as a fundamental democratic right, but being sensitive with the benefit of hindsight to pay attention to the most important issue, such that at the end of this protest, because before you begin a protest, you should have a thought of the day after, as you have begun to see the reactions from government. So what is the fundamental, most profitable thing that can come out of a protest? And that was where I anchored on the issue of electoral reform and, the reform of INEC, as it were, before we move into constitutional and judicial reforms and all of that. But the election and the electoral system, being a democracy, as the doctor, alluded to, that the president is a Democrat. So we must pay attention and make this protest about everybody, including the president, working for a better Nigeria as against some people against the government.
So literally all of us are the ones hitting the street, whether physically or not. And we need to, we started off with talking about goal setting.
Yes.
How goals have to be SMART. That's the acronym. So it has to be specific.
Yes.
That's the S. It has to be measurable.
Yes.
Then it has to be achievable, relevant, and time bound. You are taking a methodical approach to this, whole process, and you are using the benefit of hindsight as well. So if you were to have a conversation, a sit down, and as you said, it should be like everybody on the same team. So it's not us versus them, it's for Nigeria. So if you were to have a sit down with government on the one hand, what would you be telling government regarding how to handle this, how to ensure that we all get the result that will better the lives of everyone? Don't forget, government is also a part of the people.
Yes. Before I get to government, let me begin by telling all Nigerian youths and everybody who is participating in this peaceful protest to know that we are doing a good thing. The Bible says in the book of Galatians 6 verse 9 that we should not be weary of doing good, for in due course we shall reap if we do not lose heart. The Quran says in 282 that those who are able to do good, who believe and do good, would inherit paradise. They will be there forever. Fighting for the betterment of the country is a good cause. And Nigeria will be great because Nigeria has you and I. And there is nothing that is more evil than seeing a country or your society in collapse and doing nothing because you become an accomplice. Now to the government, we have listened to a lot of statements. From when this protest began, the president has met with traditional rulers, religious leaders, the ministers have spoken, everybody. But the president, what they fail to understand is the fact that there are underlying issues that are propelling at the base of this protest. If part of that energy has been channeled into addressing those issues, the protest will not even be there in the first place. So if the government is sincere about addressing the issues that Nigerians are facing on a daily, they will begin to go back to the drawing board and say, why are these children, why is there so much hunger? If you begin to look at hunger, then you will draw a straight line to corruption. You will draw a straight line to wastefulness and recklessness of government. The Honorable Minister was talking and she drew his attention to something. He pushed it to the legislative arm of government. It was not the legislative arm of government that built a new mansion for 21 billion for the vice president. president. It is the executive arm of government.
Renovation, actually.
Renovation. It was not the legislative arm of government that budgeted billions of naira to purchase SUVs for the office of the First Lady, which is not a constitutionally recognized office. So when Nigerians see this kind of wastefulness on the part of leaders, and then the leaders in turn ask the people to continue to sacrifice. So the people are the gift that continues giving, while the leaders are the ones who live in luxury, affluence, like royals and monarchs, even in an economy like this. I don't think that the lifestyle of our leaders and public office holders reflects the generality of what is going on in this. So there is that disconnect, and that is why we are where we are as a people.
So, Peter, we may have had that conversation already with government, so to speak, that sit-down that Kayode is talking about, because of the reference to the conversation that we just had with the Minister of State for Health. Now, based on some of the explanations that he provided about government's efforts, the economic policies, our outlook internationally, and the prevailing on Nigerians for more time, after which, in a couple of years, we would begin to see results. If you heard all of that and you were a young Nigerian already prepared for the protest tomorrow, will that be an appeasement for you? Are those explanations satisfactory?
No. That is not an appeasement for me. And that was the reason for the video I made, trying to call attention to the persons who are the fore of this protest. Look, once you make multiple demands, end hunger, those are infinite projects. You are going on a wild goose chase. What is hunger? What is causing hunger? A bad economy. What is the problem with Nigeria's economy? Corruption. 60% of Nigeria's corruption is administrative, inflation of government contracts, budget padding, criminality through procurement, and all of that. If you sit down, the president today, automatically they say bags of rice have come down to 40,000 naira. Before you know, they will say petroleum price will come down to this. There is a lot going in the petroleum sector that even the government does not have a hand on. Remember, the president is the minister for petroleum. That is why I say we must pivot immediately to make it about elections and electoral reform. The president is a Democrat. The senators and lawmakers claim to be Democrats. The base of a democracy are free, fair, peaceful, and credible elections.
But Peter, if you say make it about electoral reforms, elections are futuristic. We're not going to have another election until 2027, I believe, or months before that time. So Nigerians will tell you, maybe they cannot wait till that time before they see change.
Yes. The problem is if we go for the low-hanging fruits, it is a setup for another protest. If you allow yourself to lose the steam you have in protesting today and say we want to settle hunger, the president will roll out plans and tell you, okay, everybody go back. What happens when those issues resurge? What happens when the inflation skyrockets again and a leader rigs himself into, office? It then means we need to spend a majority of our life protesting. We already had 16 years of PDP. We have 10 years of the APC now going to the 11th year. If we allow it to continue, we'll have 32 years of constant protesting. And we have elections coming in Edo and, Ondo elections, which if we put the electoral system in place is a test, because you would not wait until 2027 for you to talk about elections. Politicians are already concluding plans for 2027. So if the people are not smart enough to get the opportunity to pick their leaders who they know can reform all of what we are talking about. Remember NSAS, 5/5 agenda, NSAS. Meanwhile, the major challenge was a bad law enforcement agency or agent. If you talked about SARS alone, you will have to protest for DSS, EFCC, Civil Defense, the Nigerian Army, Customs. What happens to getting a leader who reforms the entire law enforcement as against ending SARS? At the end, what happened? The president said we have disbanded SARS, but we have opened SWAT, which they had the powers to do. Where did the officers from SARS go to? They went into SWAT. They went back to mainstream police. What is the issue with police brutality today? That is why I'm calling on the attention of Nigerians that if you focus on one specific thing and you make it the, covering factor, we would lose the bigger picture to get a total reform that we would need. Any leader who knows that you can vote him out or through the electoral process would sit up.
So let's break it down. Let's unpack it.
Yes, sir.
Into short term and long term.
Yes, sir.
I know you don't like populating it.
Yes.
So let me give you the mileage of 3 to 5.
Yes.
That we need to do in the immediate.
Yeah.
And maybe in the midterm.
Yeah.
That if you were to speak to these protesters, because literally all of us are protesting, well, even the president is protesting.
Yes.
At some point. So if we're to do 3 to 5 things, short and medium term, what will they be?
The short and medium term issues, hunger. That was exacerbated by the issue of petroleum subsidy. And that is why I will tell you that I will keep maintaining that it's a complex web. If the president comes out today to give you a statement that petrol has come down to a certain price, believe me, the money or whatever that will be used to source that will come from another part of the economy, and the Nigerian people will still pay for it. Of course, the short-term projects will be bringing inflation down, bringing the cost of PMS, which is what a lot of Nigerians, they accuse in filling stations. Some people are buying for as high as 800 naira now. Nigerians will see some level of respite, but we should know that these things could just be washing and setting. If they come back again, if they are not sustainable, what do you do? The president will definitely take steps, as you have heard him talk. They say they are reducing tax on imported goods. So definitely we will see some, movements on the part of prices of goods and all of that. They might make a statement on petroleum, say we want to cap it, but at whose cost? At what cost? Those immediate impacts we are going to see. I am, curious to know at what cost and at whose cost, and what will be the long-term implication of our short-term solutions.
And I think that is why communication is quite big. Some have said that this is fire brigade approach that they're seeing from government. They wonder, where's the president? Where's the president's spokesperson? Or where are the president's spokespersons?
Yes.
Where are they? This is a time. In fact, you shouldn't have waited up until this point to start doing mobilization that we're beginning to see. And that has been the challenge of governance, communicating, ensuring that they build trust. But without communication, transparent and accountability, you cannot have trust. Or transparency and accountability, you cannot have trust. So I'd like you to speak to, you've spoken to what the strategy should be, right? But then they say that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know, I've heard that for decades, personally. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Now the challenge is the tunnel is not measurable.
Of course.
You don't know if it is 5 kilometers to the end of the tunnel or 10 kilometers to the end of the tunnel. You don't know if the light is the full voltage or the low voltage, as they say. You're not even sure what to envision when they say there is light at the end of a tunnel. So as a matter of communication, again, the government has a lot to do in this. What kinds of communication do you expect from this government beyond there is light at the end of the tunnel?
Beyond there is light at the end of the tunnel, there will have to be practical steps that show sincerity on the part of government. Mr. Kayode, this government protested against removal of fuel subsidy 12 years ago. And you had an APC chieftain, the former governor of Ekiti State, say it gleefully at an event that we did it because of political reasons during the Jonathan administration. There is a huge trust deficit. That is why the president is a Democrat, the National Assembly, they are Democrats. We have to visit the National Assembly. Let the lawmakers give us a guarantee. The president should come out and boldly state that I am guaranteeing free, fair, peaceful and credible elections when 109 people who died according to CDD reports will not have to die. Elections will not have to be by the violent. When you give Nigerians that guarantee, then begin to talk about that is long term. Then short term, you can begin to put the palliatives. They say they are doing conditional cash transfer. It has not proven to work. Buhari did it for 8 years. They say they are going to bring down the cost of rice. Let us be hopeful. Let us remain peaceful. That is the most important thing.
What about the governors, the local government chairman, the councillors, the state assembly legislators? There are other leaders that I can count that are not being talked about here as well.
They have a role. It is the president is the father of the nation. He would impose on, he meets with the governors forum, and they can come together, say, Southwest governors, how do we alleviate? That is what leaders should do. That is what leadership is about. These people, they are going through pain. As in the South, can we get security for them to farm? Can we get storage facilities? When you come up with such ideas, the people will see that these persons represent, they understand and feel our pain, and they are working towards it. And naturally, Nigerians are very understanding people. Once you see the seriousness on government, Nigerians will begin to tell you to calm down, the president is working.
So just as we begin to wind down, there's a question I want you to answer as a citizen.
Yes.
Because observing the political class and the electorate, it's like we live in two different worlds.
Yeah.
I raised this question, I've forgotten who I raised it with. the presidents or our leaders always coming out at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Goodluck Jonathan, former president, when Boko Haram started, it came out at the wrong time. Perhaps thinking of his next election, whether he wants to appease the North or not. And then things festered. Muhammadu Buhari, former president of Nigeria, took 1 month from one person dying of COVID to even his own chief of staff. Almost 100 people. Yeah. Before the president, we were even worried, the president, did he catch COVID or not? Same thing happened in NSAS. Before he came out, 2 days after. And then when he came out, he was saying people want to topple his government. Now this has come. President Bola Tinubu has not come out to say a word yet. We're hearing from ministers. Some of his aides are saying the right things. Others are saying what I don't want to say. Discordant tone. What is it with the leaders and not coming out at the right time?
When
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Leaders who do not feel beholden to the people are those who act in that kind of manner. President Tinubu must understand that he is the president of the country. These protest, people who are trying to paint it as Tinubu must go, are being mischievous. In fact, Tinubu has to stay, because if he goes, who will replace him? The issue is, as a leader, you must show empathy and commitment to the plight of the citizens. If you delay it, you only further make a bad situation worse. Nigerians are ready to listen to their leaders if they see seriousness on the part of the people. People are suffering. People are hungry. People are dying. As a president, come out and address them and show commitment that your words is your bond.
So are you going out to protest tomorrow?
Peacefully.
Okay.
Mr. Peter Akas, I almost got the senior advocate. Advocate for a new Nigeria and content creator, the encyclopedia of current affairs. We should have taken you, maybe asked him how many protests have happened since 1960. Thank you for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh boy, what a day. So, we're all counting down. The whole idea is the fact that everybody has to be peaceful, whether you're for and against. The most important thing is that you must be peaceful, because if you're not peaceful, the institution of states will come on you, and that's not what we want as a people. Thank you for watching. I'm Jeffrey Zongo.
And we must stay positive regardless of what tomorrow may bring. And we hope that indeed security agents will provide security for all. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Bukola Koka.
But what is this show without your feedback? So let's just run through all of the messages you've been sending in. The very first one is from Deshua Kromnan, who says the government has proposed a lot of measures to tame the protesters. But aside the implementation of the minimum wage, nothing is visible or visibly done, this user says. So more communication from government.
Well, Abubakar Sadiq from Delta State said, let them cut down cost of governance, cut down salaries and allowances of all political office holders. The president, vice president, NSA, chief of staff, SGF, senators and House of Representatives all should be cut down by 50%. Akoso
David from Abuja said to protest is our constitutional right, but I think if anyone is not satisfied with what is happening in the country, they should wait for the elections to express their displeasure.
And Sam Yorke from Benue State, Makurdi, precisely says, Nigerians have the right for peaceful or to protest peacefully as stipulated in our constitution. However, our youth and indeed all Nigerians have a duty to strengthen, protect and preserve our democracy, which gives us rights and freedom, and therefore avoid every temptation to go violent and destructive. That is what we want to do. Jojo and not war. So let's keep the engagement on. It's a democracy, absolutely. I'm Kayode Okikilu. Stay with Channels Television for all of the breaking stories and what you need to know. Goodbye.